Ignat's corner, beyond Bent. Janssen! And Blackburn Rovers are 18 minutes away from a Premiership return.
As far as Stewart, just outside the penalty area, clips it central for David Dunn. David Dunn equalises! It just had to be. Dax corner and it goes, glance towards goal, and Rovers have taken the lead. And Charlie Mulgrew has scored his 14th of the season. It may well be the goal that sends Rovers back into the Championship.
Good evening, Rovers fans, and welcome to our post-match live stream, fresh off our fifth defeat in 5 games, losing 3-2 at home to Watford this evening. I'm feeling in a really weird place because the watch-along was actually one of the most enjoyable watch-alongs we've had so far, so I feel quite strange in my emotions, but actually desperately disappointing result for Rovers tonight, and further questions, further concerns, further things that worry us as Rovers fans about what the future is now. So we will unpick some of that over the next hour or so and see how worried are you about Rovers season from now. How many games do you think we can win out of the next 7? How many games do you think we could win if we don't beat Coventry on Saturday? These are all key questions in my mind at the moment, just to make sure we don't sleepwalk into thinking we're going to make the playoffs down into getting involved in something that we never even thought about, you know, this time last month. So a crazy, crazy division, as it always is. But we will do it in the best way that we possibly can tonight on Rovers Chat. First of all, just want to do a shout out on our fans wall. These are the guys who contributed with the super chats on our watch along this evening. Dan, FM Works, Michael, Jack, Matthew, and Michael. Thanks ever so much for supporting our channel and supporting the show. We really do appreciate all the support that we get, and we've actually been blown away by all the support that we've had from you all since Super Chat and everything was available, since getting 1,000 subscribers. You absolutely know that we plow that right back into the channel to keep bringing you the content and keep connecting with you all. So thank you all as ever for supporting the show. And if you did want to do Super Chat again tonight on the post-match, it is available. But no one is under any obligation to do that. Just a few other things before we go to the 6 Yards advert. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, it is Rovers Chat. Please hit that bell to get all notifications for when our live content and our video content is published. And please give this video and all of our videos a huge like as well. Hit that like button because that just helps the channel grow, and we'll keep bringing the stuff to you as well. So I'll just say hello to Alex, Howard, and Ollie first. Alex, how you doing? How you feeling?
Yeah, not great, but I think it comes to a point where you kind of stop bothering about losing games, which is quite worrying in of itself. Yeah, I think there's only so much anger you can generate when you lose a game. So yeah, I don't think you can maintain that kind of Arsenal fan TV level of anger for very long. So yeah, it's kind of just to the point where you've got to laugh about it, if I'm being honest. So watching the watch along was rather entertaining. Did cheer me up on a pretty terrible night. So thanks for that, Ryan. And thanks to John Luke for the chat about crisps and chocolate and whatever else.
Yeah, and Howard, you know, a great summary of how it was at times for Rovers tonight was the fact that the watch-along was filled with talk about nothing to do with the football. So really disappointing at times for Rovers tonight. But, you know, how are you feeling after that game?
Yeah, just basically just copy what I said last Wednesday. Just flat, dejected. It's just hard to watch at the moment, isn't it? And yeah, you are right. It is true, but the watch along was the only thing that carried me through the game today. It was a really good watch, like listening to it along with the game. It's much better than the iFollow commentary, I must admit. But yeah, it's just hard at the moment, isn't it?
It is hard, but the reason we do this channel, the reason we've been pushing out all this live content is we win, lose and draw together. So this is a low moment for Rovers. We will share the pain, we'll share the agony, we'll do a bit of group therapy, and maybe we might say something which makes a bit of sense on this show. So, you know, we'll do it all together as well. And Ollie, thanks for joining us again, mate. You're joined by a very good-looking keyboard behind you tonight. You've had a change of scenery, but how are you doing tonight?
Yeah, not my keyboard. No, yeah, a bit like the other guys. I think I was past angry at the 4th loss. I've got an emergency whiskey because might need a stiff drink during the next hour. Wondering at which point we just start talking about crisps again to keep everyone entertained. But yeah, well, the watch along was very good. A lot of good crisp chat. No, yeah, we are where we are. I think, yeah, we're going to get into it. But yeah, no, I'm not too angry or downbeat because of just a bit flat, a bit like Howard said. 5 losses in a row is not very good. Not sure if we done 5 losses with Mowbray. We did 4. We've done 4. I think this is the first 5. So yeah, maybe that's something to celebrate in a odd way.
Just so Rovers fans know before we hit the advert, I just want to avoid Groundhog Day on the post-match stream tonight. So we know, I think, what everyone's opinions on the manager is, and we did a special live stream on Monday talking about Mowbray, talking about the manager and things like that. So if I can, I want to avoid that tonight. So what I've suggested tonight is we'll talk about the game and elements of that game that were disappointing tonight. And also the echoes that there was to Nottingham Forest tonight. I definitely want to talk about the Coventry game on Saturday and how important that is now. And then I want to talk about the next fixtures after Coventry as well. So that will feature in the discussion tonight. And then probably towards the end of the chat, inevitably, we will talk about Mowbray. But, you know, Matt, I've just seen that coming in. Has he effing gone yet, lads? You know, I'm not going to do Groundhog Day and sit here and say, has he gone yet or whatever. I think there's not many people I know now that have faith in this manager. We know that. So we'll talk about the game a little bit. And then, as I say, we'll finish with Mowbray if we've got time left on the post-match stream. So that's my approach for it tonight, just to avoid us reinforcing what we already think. So, yeah, it's been a bitterly disappointing evening tonight. So we'll do the advert and then we'll get stuck into the game. So, yeah, just a reminder to everyone, we're sponsored by 𝐂𝐎𝐿𝐿𝑜ut.com. The Rovers Chat YouTube channel is proudly sponsored by 𝐂𝐎𝐿𝐿𝐿out.com. They've got retro football from every era with mugs, phone cases and much more. They also have plenty of Rovers goods, including apparel with the famous 94-95 season and this season's kit. Check them out using the link in the description below. Thank you to 𝐂𝐎𝐿𝐿out.com for their very kind sponsorship. And I was just being drawn to 2 comments there, which kind of sum it up really nicely. You know, Warren, there's nothing else to say. I think, yeah, we could just labour the point about the manager till the cats come home until he's not here. Absolutely right. And then Leap Year Man, we said this last week or the last post-match stream that we did, and we were just talking about it before we came live now. How has it come to this after the start to the season? If we'd said to you after beating Derby 4-0 and Wycombe 5-0 and then Coventry 4-0, if I'd said to you in February, you're going to be doing your match streams talking about relegation, you've been like, what have you been smoking? But yeah, that's how it's ended up, I'm afraid. So we will see. We will see. So Howard, I'll start with you in the top right. You know, let's talk about the game first and foremost. Summarise your thoughts about the game, about how you thought Rovers played, how you thought it went, things that went well, things that didn't. You know, how are you feeling about that?
It was a very patchy game, wasn't it? There was a lot of very streaky. There was periods where we looked hopeless, void of ideas, and then there was periods where we looked like we almost could have a go, but we just never really got that clear-cut chance. And it just seems like the story of our season at this point, really, doesn't it? I mean, it's just I don't even know. It's just the same again, isn't it? Just we get into these forward areas and we just don't look like we have a clue what to do. I mean, Harvey Elliott was probably my man at match today. He got on the ball, he made things happen. He was just brilliant as he usually is, but you just can't rely on a 17-year-old to just pull us out of the shit every game, really, can you? Because I mean, no one else is just offering anything. I think a big problem again today was Bradley Dack. As shocking as it is, the guy just is not playing well, and he should not be in the starting 11 for me. I mean, he's added the left mid position to the 27 positions that he's already played so far this season. It was pointless. I mean, Every time he got on the ball, he just never made anything happen. He would lose it. It would be a stray pass. I think it just started wrong there for me. I would be shocked if he even started at Coventry, to be honest. I think we would have been much better today with Brereton starting on the wing again, and I think we would be going forward. And it's just tragic to say about a player of his quality, but we're just better without him at the moment, I think. And I think that, again, it's just the manager has to find a way to make our best players work in this team, and he is our best player, and we're not playing to his strengths, and it's costing us because, like I said last Wednesday, the guy has hung his hat on Bradley Dack coming back around Christmas, saying that he'd give us that boost. There was games before that we'd win if we had him, and look at us now. We're 16th, 15th in the table, talking about bloody relegation. It's just a tragedy what's happened to this season. I don't know where it's come from, how it's gone so wrong, but it has, and it's time for change, basically. Whether, as much as I admire Mowbray and everything he's done, it's just not happening, is it? It's just over. And I think at this point we're just delaying the inevitable. And one thing that annoys me about it a little bit is the people that say that he just won't go. And I don't know. To me, that's just not right. If a manager in this poor run of form, who's underachieving so badly, can be seen as untouchable just because of what he's done previously, I don't think that's right. Because, I mean, every manager shouldn't be untouchable. They can have a poor run, and then when you know the time's right for him to go, they should go. But because plans are set for next season or whatever, like there's an understanding between him and the board, that doesn't mean to me that we should keep him just because of that. If the time's right, like it is now for him to go, then that's when he probably should go. And I mean, I hate this, to be honest. Like, we all wanted him to succeed, but it's just not happening, is it? I can't even accuse the players of not playing for him, because they are. Like, we're playing really well. Well, we're not playing really well, but they're playing for him, should I say. We're not playing really well, far from it. And that's what concerns me the most, the fact that we're playing so well. They're probably doing what he wants them to do, and then it's just not happening. So, I don't know what to say. It's just a shame, isn't it?
Ollie, I was going to ask you something different, but just as the comments have been coming in, it's made me think of a different question to ask you. So when we're in a run of form like this, and when you've got a young team like what we've got, particularly with two young centre halves, you need your big players to affect games and contribute. So I'm probably going to single out 4 people tonight. I know one of them is young in himself, but Thomas Kaminski is a goalkeeper who is one of the oldest people on that pitch at that time. Did he have a good game tonight? Bradley Dack, why is he on the left wing? Is he affecting the game like we need him to do? Lewis Travis, the man that Tony Mowbray has rushed back into this side and took us all by surprise when he played at Birmingham City away, and is the man that we all wanted back in the side. And Adam Armstrong, the guy who was handed the captain's armband tonight, have we seen a captain's performance from him tonight? You know, are we getting big performances from the big players that we need to have at this time? That's the first question. So then secondly, and linked to that, does that link into the manager and the motivation from him and the trust in him and things like that? You know, what's your assessment on the players that we need to affect this side who just simply aren't doing it consistently at the moment?
Yeah, no, it wasn't those names you mentioned. I'll probably put Armstrong to one side. Yeah, it was a strange one tonight. I think for me, the match, I think people have likened it to the Forest game. To me, it felt like a slightly better version of losing at home 4-2 to Reading. We played a team that generally are a lot better than we are. And I felt like they kept us at arm's length quite easily, generally speaking. And they've got, you look at their midfield 3 and their front 3 that started the game, and they're, it's dripping with quality. And I think that was quite evident across the game. But yeah, I think starting with Dack, completely agree with Howard. You get to that hour before the game, at the moment, and I dread looking at the team sheet because it's just not, we're all fans, we've all got our own opinions, but it's never the team I want since, early in December. It's never quite, you sort of look at the team and go, I'm not quite sure why he's picked that team, but we'll see how it ends up on the pitch. Sarr was a real thorn in our side at Vicarage Road earlier in the season, working that channel, behind the left back and between the left centre half and the left back. And we've got two young centre backs there, and Barry Douglas you wouldn't give him a gold star for his defensive duties this season. He's been okay recently. And then to deliberately create a weak spot playing Bradley Dack on the left wing, baffling. You're wasting the player that he is. I also don't think he should be starting the game anyway, but not playing Brereton there, it creates a defensive weak spot that Sarr's going to exploit, that he exploited when you've played them before. So I don't understand his thinking in creating a deliberate weakness down a side where you've got two young centre halves that are going to come under a lot of pressure in that game. And then you're also losing the opportunity of the outlet because Brereton's going to dominate Feminir very easily in the air. And I think we saw when he came on, I thought he was very good when he came on, did all the things that he does, wins the ball, drives forward, affects the game, gets us high up the pitch. And, it took 10 minutes before Bradley Dack was over on the right-hand side of the pitch, drifting around in the middle, trying to find the ball. And that's obvious. You could have said before we kicked off the game, you'd go, okay, if Dack is on the left, that's a bit odd, but he's also just going to drift away from there and create a problem for us on that side. And it's sad, really, because I think he hasn't been very good since coming back. But he goes looking for the ball, and I think every time he's on the ball, there were some very nice, cute passes early on. I think he did start off a few attacks, but he's sort of looking for the ball and wanting time on the ball, and it's not very nice. It's just not. You just want to kind of probably use him as a substitute at the moment. I think bring him on, change things with him to come on. I feel harsh digging out 𝐒𝐿𝐃, but that first goals are important in the Championship regardless. But we know what our record's like at the moment. If we go behind, it's sort of curtains, really. And yeah, he was, that funny rollout to Travis that was a bit of a nightmare. And I think Branthwaite wasn't great for that first goal. He's waving his arm in the air for offside, and it's never off. It's not going to be offside. 𝐒𝐿𝐃 delays coming off his line, which is something he's really not. It's a bit of a rarity to see him, but he's been fantastic all season. You'd probably want to forgive him for having a constant. How many times is the back four in front of him changing, and he's dealing with two young lads that are on loan. But he could have done a lot better with that first goal. And again, I feel hard digging out Travis because actually, I don't think it would have affected the result. But you look at the team that started the match, and if Ayala, Lenihan, Williams, or Wharton were fit, all four of those would be playing before the two centre backs that started the match. If Johnson, Davenport, and Holtby were all fit, all three of them would have played some part of that 90 minutes today. It's not why we lost the if we'd have had a fully fit squad, I think Watford would have beaten us because they're a very good team. But it just puts things in context, I think. And I think, again, with Adam Armstrong, Alex, we've talked about it at length in the past, that I think he's trying to do too much. But then sometimes do you blame him? The attacking unit around him is changing every week. He always starts. He starts every week. But the system around him changes every single week. He stays on for generally the entire match, and then from about 60 minutes, the 4 players around him change most games. So do you blame him for getting the ball and trying to dribble past 3 people and always trying to shoot? Maybe not. But you know, for me, we've said this, it's a bit like a broken record. Just start with the best 11 and the best system, and then see if we're then 3-1 down, fine, make the changes, bring on Bradley Dack, it's just, we'll get into the manager, but it's, not a great evening, but again, not particularly surprising. We're not in a very good place. What I didn't like was, I was watching it on iFollow, that I think it cut after Rothwell and Dack went off, and the expression on their faces when they were sat having been subbed off, you know, we're fans, but it seemed quite telling. Dack just looked angry at everything, probably with his own performance, with where he was on the pitch, with the fact that we're about to lose the 5th game in a row. And I think once Watford scored their first goal, even at 2-1, even at 3-2, I don't think any of us really thought we were going to get any points out of that match. I think after 1-0, but no, that's probably enough grumbling from me. I'll lead us on to Alex, who can have a good old grumble, I think.
No, so I just wanted to ask you, just with regards to the players, because I think when you are in a run of form like this, you need your experienced players, you need your big players to rise to the surface. And, you know, I just asked you that question because I'm just wondering if they did tonight. You know, in Bradley Dack's case, he wasn't helped by the position he was played in. Thomas Kaminski, has he been helped by the fact he's got 2 young centre-halves in front of him? You know, there are mitigating circumstances, of course, but those 4 I picked out as, like, you know, if we're going to turn this around, those 4 need to have a good game for me. So, Alex, I'm going to come on to you then. We've referenced the similarities to the Nottingham Forest game, but you could probably just reference it across the whole of the season, really, in terms of when we go a goal behind, the lack of response from this side is pretty frightening, actually, isn't it? We've seen Rovers look bright, look like we're popping the ball about, look like we're going to create a chance. Then there's a goal out of pissing nowhere, like the 𝐿𝐻𝐻𝐿 goal, which came out of nowhere. These are worrying traits, aren't they, for this side, Rovers? You know, Mighton's goal was just a crazily deflected shot on Saturday. And then this one, cleverly, has really just done a bit of a hit and hope back into the area and just exploited a situation out of nowhere, hasn't he? And once that goal goes in, you just know as a Rovers fan, we're not winning the game and probably not getting anything out of the game. And that's what's disappointing, isn't it?
It's very, very disappointing. I think I'll start by saying well done to Watford. They deserve the win tonight, I thought. I've been saying that a lot recently to the opposition teams that have been playing us. Well done, you deserve the win. But I'll say the same thing tonight. I thought Watford did deserve the win overall. I completely agree with you, Ryan. The amount of goals that we concede and the amount of games that we concede the first goal with our record of going behind is utterly criminal. And you can't expect to have a good season and win many points and progress in this league if you don't consistently score the first goal. I mean, it was nice to score our 3rd first half goal in 16 games today, but we were already 2-0 down at that point, and you could say that the horse had bolted in many ways. What I would say is that Watford are a very good side. They would have been a match for us, as Ollie said, at full strength. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And there would have been no shame in losing to Watford tonight, regardless of the run of form we were on, and if we were still competing for the top 6. But I think you've got to view today's game as a cluster of the previous 4 leading into this game as well. You can't detract from the 5 on the trot, the losses on the trot, as much as we might want to maybe gloss over the fact that Watford are a very good side. I think the key issues that are blighting Rovers at the minute are, as we've said so many times, just not knowing from 1 week to the next which system the manager's going to play, which formation he's going to play, where each player is going to fit into the system. As Holly said, Bradley Dackett left on the left-hand side was a brand new one today. That can be another thing ticked off the list. Maybe he'll try left back next week. I don't know. So you have all of those factors in the background, and then you couple to that the way in which, and I commented on the live watch along about this, that although we're not conceding as many goals as we have done in the past in terms of gross numbers and amounts, the goals that we concede tend to be out of nothing. We're never put under any pressure. We're never under the cosh, as it were. All it takes is a simple ball over the top, and you have to say that two very, very young centre-halves didn't have the nous to cope with it. I think that's probably a circumstance of our injuries this season in defence. But again, you've maybe questioned the recruitment and the blend of a bit more experience and a bit more youth. Because I've two really very young players in there today just is an immense ask against players that have been quoted, let's not forget, at £40 million worth of value. So all of these things need to be taken into account. I think the other things I would mention are that I think these players are playing for the manager. I don't think there's a lack of effort there that I'm seeing. I'm not seeing a lack of effort. What I am seeing, though, is many, many players in this side not performing as they have done earlier on in the season, and also players not performing as in the past. You know, I've tried to go very easy on Bradley Dack. I've tried to be patient about it. I've tried to be patient with Lewis Travis. But I have to come on to this post-match stream tonight, and I have to say that since their return from injury, whether it's due to them being introduced too fast or whether it's because they're being played in the wrong position in the team, they are not performing anywhere near their previous standards. And those two players that Mowbray hung his hat on before Christmas as the two players to make all the difference to this season, well, lo and behold, they've both come into the side, and in many ways you could say we've got worse when you look at the result. So very, very disappointing result today. I think we probably deserved nothing from the game in the end. I think we did well to keep it to a 1-goal margin. And it was nice to score a goal from a set piece finally. But I'm still very sceptical of this side now, and you can't praise certain aspects of tonight's game without also mentioning the fact that, you know, this is the 5th loss in a row, and it is the first 5-match losing streak since, you know, we had Steve Keane as manager. So, you know, if we want to let a stat tonight sink in, I think that's what I would probably say and end on. That, you know, 5 matches on the spin is not a freak. It's not bad luck. It's not misfortune. It's a pointer to a wider issue. I think we'd all agree on that. That you don't lose 5 games on the trot if there isn't any underlying cause or any underlying issues. And I think that's where we are at the minute as a club. That, you know, we're in a worrying situation with the results we've just had. But then you look at the games coming up, and I'm sure, Ryan, you'll go on to talk about this and ask us questions, that you look at the games coming up and you're even more worried about things. And you do have to say to the fans that do continue to back the manager, you know, how many games on the trot will it have to be before you know, come to that conclusion? You know, how many games on the trot will it have to be? But yeah, sorry for ramming home the negativity there. It's always bad for me to go last of the 3. Should always on a positive note. I don't think I'm the person to do that, but yeah, I think that's just how I see it tonight. It's just, I don't really want to delve into the game in great tactically. I think we all know the issues, and we all know where the club and where the team is going wrong. But yeah, I think that's just my overriding emotions after that game tonight.
I think the point that you made about effort and the quality is the really pertinent one here, Alex. So the Joe Rothwell goal, or the Joe Rothwell assist, as I'm going to call it, for the first goal, shows you that the players care and that they're playing for this team. Joe Rothwell hunted that ball down, won the ball back, and allowed us to win the ball back, and eventually it led to the Harvey Elliott goal. So these players are playing for the club and they actually care. But I think we've reached the point where the quality is just not good enough in terms of how we're set up, the possession, the style of play, how we're changing games when it's not going our way, how we're responding when we're going one goal behind. These are all things that can still be true even if the players are trying their hardest. So I love this group of players, and I've never loved a group of players more in the last 10 years, because I think we've had the heart and the core of the club rebuilt because of stuff that we said on the stream on Monday night. But we just severely lack in quality now, and we severely lack in ideas, and we've got those damning things going against us at the moment.
Lacking confidence too, Ryan. I think lacking confidence is a major one. I don't think you can look at that team tonight and say they're playing with full confidence, and you just see that. And I think the one thing that I would say about lack of confidence is it just makes you maybe doubt for a split second whether you play that risky pass that might put you in on goal, and that 1 second of hesitation and the chance is gone. And it's just those moments that are really crucial and in a given season, in a given game. And when we're playing on such low confidence that I think these players are playing under at the minute, that just isn't there. And yeah, we are really, really desperate for something to go our way at the minute. And I have to say there's no real signs of that happening. So yeah, very, very worrying times.
And what you said there about confidence and these other things that I said about ideas and formations and all of those types of things, all roads lead to the manager. When players are feeling underconfident, when the club is not feeling in a good space, when you're on a bad run of form, who is the person that has to pick you up? Who is the person that has to make you as a player feel $100 million? It is the manager. And are we getting that from Tony Mowbray at the moment, both in terms of what he's doing behind the scenes that we don't see, and also the stuff that we do see in front of the cameras and in the post-match interviews? And I just wonder whether he is doing that enough at the moment. And it's playing out. Who actually thought we would have come behind against Watford today when they went 1-0 up? Who thought we were going to come from behind against Forest when they went 1-0 up? And these are not things you should be thinking as a football fan. You should not be thinking a game of football is over after 20, 25 minutes like the last two games that we've had. That's not football. We should have confidence that the players are going to respond. But unfortunately, whether they are trying as hard as they possibly can and they care as much as we do, something is lacking with the players at the moment. And as I say, this boils down to the manager, unfortunately. So we strayed into a better manager chat there, so I'm not going to go there. And Alex, I think you're absolutely right. Let's not delve into the game too much. My kind of very basic summary of the game is we started okay. We looked fresh. It looked like we had some ideas and stuff about us. Watford get a goal out of nowhere, and it looks like it's game over. And indeed, they go 2-0 up. We get a nice little bonus on half time. And then we came out for the second half, actually looking a bit more open, like we're going to go for them, accepting the fact that we're going to get caught in behind. Then for pretty much the rest of the second half, we're talking about crisps on the watch along because there isn't much actually to get excited about and talk about. And actually, I think for the majority of that game, Watford probably had us at arm's length. Did we worry them? Did we challenge them? Probably not. Did we create loads of chances? Probably not. And Watford will see that as a very good night's work tonight. They've struggled away from home this season. We covered that on the other side last night. They'd only had 4 away wins all season. So they're going to be ecstatic with that. They kept us at arm's length. So Howard, I'm going to come to you then. We've lost the game without depressing us even further. I'm just going to bring up 2 things. One is the league table. If I just remove the banner, we will see that a little bit better. So Rovers currently find themselves in 15th position We've slipped into the bottom half well and truly now. We are 3 points off the top half. We're only 1 point above Luton in 17th. And I think even lower down that table, we're only 2 points above Huddersfield in 18th. And if Coventry were to beat us on Saturday, Coventry would only be 2 points behind us as well. And they are currently in, if I find it in the table, Coventry are currently 20th on 34 points. So Howard, what's your opinion of this game on Saturday? Is it a must win in your eyes?
Yeah, it probably is. It probably is for quite a few people, not just the football club, but the manager. It'd be one that he'd have to sort of prove a point, because it's a game that we should be winning, really, isn't it? I mean, we're at home against a side in the bottom five. It's a game that we should be taking to them, and if we see another flat performance where we have no identity going forward, we struggle to create them clear-cut chances against a side that we absolutely battered, didn't we, in mid-October, then that's when the concerns really, really start to come. Because, I mean, just looking at that table there, if you'd have told anyone after just before the QPR game, in 5 games' time, we were level on points with Nottingham Forest and two in front of Derby, I think they'd have laughed at you, in truth. That's where the true concern comes from me, because they were the teams that we looked at in November, December, and just thought, yeah, they're rubbish. They're going to be down there fighting for it. Now all of a sudden we're with them. So, I mean, Rotherham also have a couple of games in hand, don't they? They're the team that I believe are like at the top of the relegation zone. So, I mean, if they win one of their games, then that brings us a little bit closer. I suppose when you put it like that, it does actually look quite worrying, doesn't it? But I reiterate the point I made last week. I think there's just too many teams at the bottom that we're just better than. Even when we're poor, we're just better than, like your Birminghams, your Sheffield Wednesdays, teams like that, and Wickham. I just think there's too many teams below us for us to get truly dragged down. But it's something that we can't overlook, certainly. We should certainly be worried about it in that regard, because, I mean, the way we are looking like relegation fodder, aren't we, at this point? Because I think I don't know who it was, I saw it on Twitter after the game. It was like a form table of not just like the recent 5 games. I think it took it back to about 15 or 20. We were 19th with like 15 points. Like, it was something I didn't really expect, because, I mean, you had the January that was quite good, and we were quite okay around November time. But when you put it into like a kind of like idea of things, it's been something that's not just been going on for 5 games. It's 15, 20, and I think our luck almost ran out to an extent, because we picked up some results that we probably didn't deserve quite a lot. I can probably name about 3 or 4 like wins, like the Barnsley, Millwall, Rotherham, that we didn't really deserve to win, but we did. And now we're kind of not playing any different to the way we did then, but we're not winning, and that's where the concerning thing comes. Because when you start playing badly and not winning, that's when the problems start to like rise to the top, isn't it? And yeah, I just think we need some sort of like injection of life, don't we? Whether that's Tyrese Dolan getting a start in the front three and just injecting that bit of excitement back in, so that bit of unpredictability with the way that he plays. Like he excites me as a fan to watch. So I assume he must excite a few of the players at least when they see him pick up the ball and drive at a defence. It's the same with Ben Brereton to an extent. Like, just have them on the wing, have Elliott maybe behind Armstrong, and just take Dak out the side, take Travis out if you can, if Davenport's back, and just try and change things up, add that bit of something different to it, because at the moment it just isn't working. I feel like we're almost beating the dead horse with the players like Dak. And of course, Rothwell as well, who was an absolute crime that he got subbed off, in truth, wasn't it? I mean, he was our best player, and then he was just thrown off like just needlessly. Like, I mean, we were 3-1 down, weren't we? And you just think, why can't we have Rothwell with Brereton and Dolan and Elliott and Armstrong on the pitch? Why do we need to still have a Corey Evans on who's just there to protect when we're 3-1 down? He might as well just go for it, really. But yeah, in terms of the question, it's starting to become more concerning game by game, isn't it?
So I'm just going to bring in Ollie for you. I'm just going to bring in Tom's comment here. Don't think we're in danger of going down, but something has to give. So I'm just going to bring up something else. So I'm not sat here now saying we are in a relegation battle, but I just want to focus on the game on Saturday. And for me, how important that game is. Because if we don't get a positive result from the Coventry game, if I just take Tom's comment down, they're the next fixtures after Coventry. So let's entertain us two things here. So on the Tony Mowbray live stream the other night, there was a universal view that Mowbray's here for the rest of the season and won't go. So let's just say that he's going to be the manager for the rest of the season. And if we don't beat Coventry on Saturday, there is the next 6 fixtures after that. So if we are potentially either 6 wins on the 6 defeats on the spin or 5 defeats and 1 draw going into that run of 6 fixtures, genuine question, where do you feel the next win is coming from out of those next 6 games?
Possibly Reading, but then maybe Millwall. We've got an all right record away at Millwall. But I think Tom said it in the comments. I don't think we'll go down, but that's mainly because of when I look at the bottom 5. I don't want that to come back and haunt me. I just think that you look at the bottom 5 teams, and I think it's 3 of those 5 will go down. Well, probably 2 plus Wycombe are going to go down. I think it's not to say that things might get a bit hairy. That's if we don't beat Coventry at home, that's going to be massive. Not saying that means we are in a relegation scrap, but that is a massive result if they come to us and beat us, and that's our 6th loss in a row. Reading, they've beaten us 4-2. They're up at the top of the division. Millwall are a difficult team to play against, and then those next 4 speak for themselves. There's no hiding our record against the top sides this season. Hasn't been very good. And even though 3 of them are at home, that doesn't really actually mean much. Our home form's been appalling this season. I'm not sure. I don't think we'll go down, but or I'm not quite sure we'll get embroiled in like an actual relegation fight, but I think we'll win one of those next 3. For me, I think we would. Well, we need to, really. Again, I don't think it's worth getting into kind of manager debates. I think, like you said, I think there is universal agreement about his status and what people think needs to happen. But I'm not. 6 losses in a row. I'm not sure where we go from there. I think I've seen some comments coming through that, what can you do after 6 losses? Particularly if the 6th one is at home to Coventry. It's a team he's previously managed as well. And I think that'll, we've sat here, I think, these post-match live streams, I think the 3rd loss is when, inevitably there was kind of the anger was starting to build and people calling for his head, and that's completely understandable and to be expected. And then there's the 4th loss, then there's the 5th loss, and it becomes untenable. I mean, it's on that point at the moment, but you lose at home to Coventry and it will drag us nearer to that conversation with a difficult set of fixtures to come. And we don't make those decisions, but it feels untenable then. But I think tonight I don't think tonight's added to the anger of, he must go. I think a lot of people were there after we lost to Forest, but it feels like the ratchet would crank again, I think, if you lost at home to Coventry, because I think you've got to draw a line then. I'm not sure where you go if you lose 6 games in a row and you've just lost at home to a team that, for argument's sake, we just should not be losing to. in this division, not with the squad we have, not with the manager we have, and doesn't matter about the form. It's, I'm not sure what we do after that if we lose, to be honest.
So, Alex, the reason I'm raising this is I just don't want us to sleepwalk into something. We can all sit here now and say we're not going to get relegated and things like that. So let's just entertain a scenario where we don't beat Coventry on Saturday and we get the points that most people are saying in those comments, 3, 5, 6, those types. The fixtures after that aren't much easier either. Wycombe away is what we've got at the start of April, but then it's Bournemouth, Cardiff. But then our last fixtures are actually quite remarkable. When you look at the bottom 6, as it currently is, the bottom 6 or 7 clubs, sorry, Derby, Huddersfield, Coventry, Birmingham, Rotherham, Sheffield Wednesday, Wycombe. Our final few fixtures are quite remarkable in who we have to play in our final 5 fixtures. So we've got Sheffield Wednesday away, Huddersfield at home, Rotherham away and Birmingham at home. So if negative momentum starts churning, we've actually got the teams that would be in and around with us down in that position to play at the end of the season. So all I'm saying with this, I'm not saying we're going down. I'm just saying on Saturday, for me, Coventry City is a huge, huge game to not get embroiled in something or start a slide that could feasibly start if we don't beat them on Saturday. That's all I'm saying. And would you agree with that?
The way you present that, Ryan, is really interesting, and it's not something I've previously thought about. That, let's say, for example, even if we stop the losing streak on Saturday and we pick up a point at home to Coventry, I think we would all agree that that's a pretty terrible result looking at those next 6 games. Let's just caveat this and maybe talk about some hypotheticals. If we don't beat Coventry on Saturday, I cannot see how we get a win in those next 6 games after that. I'm just not seeing the performances. I'm not seeing the consistency of team selection or of individual performances. I'm seeing too many defensive mistakes. I do not see where a win comes from in those 7 games or 6 games after the Coventry game. If that is true and we go 7 more games without a win, the amount of pressure on those so-called easier games escalates tenfold, doesn't it? Because then we are embroiled in the relegation scrap and we have to win. What I would say is that, look, you talking there about us fixtures at the end of the season, they are exactly the games you don't want to be playing at the end of the season. Really, you want to be playing 2 or 3 teams that finish in between 8th and 14th that have got no chance of the playoffs and have got no chance of getting relegated. They are the teams you always want to play in the last few weeks of the season. And the way you present those fixtures to me, Ryan, definitely makes me nervous. I do think we have enough in the end to get over the line. I'm not coming on this stream tonight and saying we're going to be relegated, but I think it's useful to have this discussion now, make sure it's out in the open. But what I would say to everyone here tonight is that the fact that this is even being brought up in discussion, the fact that we're even finding the need to mention the possibility of relegation for a club that's supposedly progressing and wanting to improve year on year, I just find it completely exasperating. And I think it is symptomatic of not only the recent results, but just the general mood at the club at the minute. I think it's very, very worrying. I really, really hope and pray that if the manager's still in situ on Saturday, that we get a positive result. You know, my overriding emotion and want is always for Blackburn Rovers to win a game of football. That'll never change, regardless of who the manager is, you know, or who the players are. I want Rovers to win that game on Saturday. And you look at the games coming up after that, and you've got to say they need to win on Saturday. They really, really need to win on Saturday.
For me, honestly, I think Saturday is a must-win fixture for the context of our season, and to not get involved in something that we don't want to get involved in, because momentum works both ways in football. And when you're on a losing run and you're losing games, other teams spot you and they pick you off, and teams will be looking at Rovers thinking, right, we'll get the result. And with the form and the way that we're playing, we certainly aren't trusting ourselves to go and win those games either against those fixtures after Coventry as well. So we need that win desperately on Saturday to get to that 42-point mark and ultimately make 42 points a points total, which the likes of Birmingham and Rotherham and other teams are going to have to first get to and then get beyond in their own seasons as well. 39 is achievable for those clubs. And we just need to be careful because we are on some really negative momentum at the moment. So all I'm saying at this point, I'm not saying we are in a relegation battle. I'm just saying we need to be careful. And Saturday for me is a must win for that reason. Just before we move on, Captain Charisma, thank you for your super chat and your donation there. Lenihan is our only centre-back who has Premier League ability. And yeah, who's to say that, the last two games, how would we have played with Lenihan, away at Forest and home to Watford tonight? If Lenihan was there and not the two young lads, could it have been different results? Who knows? But certainly I've heard rumours of Sheffield United and other clubs sniffing around Lenihan before. But, he's a big miss. He is the captain. Sometimes I do want more from him as our captain, but we can't argue with the fact that we were missing our captain tonight. And certainly that first Watford goal, I think, showed that we were missing our captain tonight in terms of that general organisation at the back and other things. But thank you for your donation. Howard, I don't know how 53 minutes has gone on this stream. We really just seem to have, focused a little bit on the game and other things like that. But, I said we'd cover the manager a little bit at the end of the stream, so we will. A few things. I'm scrolling across on the bottom now to one of the Tony Mowbray quotes from tonight and what he said. He said, I've said to you before, I don't want to be a burden for the club. He's trying his best and all of those types of things. So we said earlier, didn't we? The players are trying their best. I've got no doubt that Tony Mowbray is trying his best because this is an honest man who wants the best for Blackburn Rovers. But ultimately, both the players and the managers at the moment, their best isn't good enough, is it? We're not getting what we need from this club. So with that Coventry game on Saturday, with the fixtures that we've got, and with what we could sleepwalk into for the rest of the season, when does this change of manager need to happen? When do we need to do it?
It's a tough one, isn't it? Because I think there doesn't really seem like a perfect time, is there? I mean, if he got sacked tomorrow, then you'd have the uncertainty of going into a game on Saturday that's a must win with, I don't know, Damian Johnson as caretaker or something like that. And we need to make sure that we at least have a replacement if he's going to go around now. But I mean, again, like he's mentioned there, he doesn't want to be a burden to the club. But I mean, at the moment, he must know that people think that he is, surely, because I mean, if you only have to look on Facebook or Twitter or something like that, and just look at general opinions of fans. Although Facebook's quite a dangerous place to look at times, and you just know. But the majority, it was a minority. Like you think back to Christmas, it probably was, but now it's a majority. It feels that just aren't happy, and it's just odd comments again, isn't it? Really, just don't know. Is he kind of oblivious to it? I don't know. It's because I mean we've lost 5 games in a row. Like at the end of the day, I mean if you're the manager and you're losing 5 games in a row and you're going from a playoff position to relegation talk, then surely you must understand that you've done a few things wrong and you might actually be a burden. I don't know, but yeah, it's going on to the point about you made him. I mean, we can never question Tony Mowbray as a man. He's always put his heart into this club, really, hasn't he? He's changed it from the ground up, and you can never understand that. But something I've always said is that I think loyalty can be quite dangerous in football. Like I know it's a bit pointless to say, but I always look back to when Leicester sacked Claudio Ranieri, and it was seen as such a disgrace to football, and everyone hated them, but it was the right decision. Just because what happens in the past doesn't mean that you shouldn't look towards the future and be careful and be cautious about what's happening. And I feel like we're at a similar point in where we are as a club now, where we understand what Tony Mowbray's done for this football club, and we all appreciate it, and we always will. But we need to just be careful about what the future holds, because we don't want it to get toxic around him. We don't want it to feel like it's been almost a bad time for him, because it hasn't, and he doesn't deserve that as a man, as a manager, as anyone, because like I've said, he's just been brilliant for us, and I think that's why I'd probably like him to go now instead of any end of the season, because if we finish about 18th and we lose more games like Coventry's and Millwall's, then I think it's just going to get worse for him, and people are just going to almost have a tainted view on how we see Mowbray as a manager in the past, and I'd hate that to be the case. And so that's probably why I would rather sack him tomorrow than sack him at the end of the season, personally. I'd rather at least get a manager in who we can see something. I mean, whoever we're getting as manager, nothing's really changing, isn't it? Is it? And like where we go. But I'd like to see a manager just kind of inject ideas and give us a bit of positivity going into the summer, because I think the worst thing that we can do is go into the summer with a new manager in mid-July who hasn't used the players, hasn't had an idea of them, to then go into the window, buy players, and then start the start of the season, and we see a 4-1 loss to Norwich and a 3-0 loss away at Wigan, and all of a sudden we're in a relegation battle after 2 games. And I think that's the worst thing that we can do. And I know that the comment in terms of who you're replacing, we go over this too often. But one thing I will say is that we've often spoke about, as fans, feeling sort of like, I don't know what the word is, kind of like confident in a new manager. You know, when you see like a manager come in that instills that confidence back in you, and you feel that bit of belief. And I just refer to probably about a month and a half ago when Mick McCarthy took over at Cardiff, who were probably about where we are in the league now. They would have probably been completely miserable at that appointment, because it's Mick McCarthy and then he's just got sacked in some random European country after about 2 months. It just screamed, keep us up, take us to the end of the season, then move on. And after 8 games being in charge, they sat in 6th. And it's just things like that. Like I felt we're almost similar to Cardiff like this season, in the fact that we have the squad, but we never quite had almost the belief in the squad to get into them areas. And it just annoys me a little bit that I think we're kind of in this slump, and I see these clubs act on what they see and benefit from it, and I think that can be us. And I mean, I'm not suggesting we get dinosaur football like Mick McCarthy, because we don't have Kiefer Moore up front. But yeah, I mean, I do love a talk, actually. Yeah, I've been going on for quite a while in these, haven't I? Yeah,
you all have. So
yeah, no, there's just a lot to say, isn't there? Because I mean, there's just so much to vent about at the moment, isn't there? Because I mean, it's just hard to be a Rovers fan, isn't it? I mean, it's been miserable for me for the past 13 years I've been going, and it just never ends, does it?
Well, I do feel sorry for the likes of yourself and Alex, because I can always console myself with the likes of Yordi and Shabani Nonda and all those legends that I've seen in my time supporting Rovers. And you don't even have that. You've got second rates like 𝐿𝐻𝐃𝐄𝐎 and people like that. So I do feel sorry for the younger generation of Rovers fans. I'm just going to bring in Tom's comment here, because this one's interesting. So at least the Burden comments make him seem like he cares and at least acknowledges something's wrong. He's been playing dumb recently, so don't mind tonight's comments. And Tom, I agree with that. The reason I've been getting annoyed in the last couple of weeks is just because he's been deliberately behaving in a different way, like the moping after the Preston game and being arsey to Andy Bays and stuff like that. So yes, it shows that he cares, and I've never doubted that he cares, because I think deep down he is an honest guy that wants the best for Blackburn Rovers. However, these comments tonight, I go back to what I've been saying for the last 3 or 4 games. When you are losing 5 games in a row, when you need to get yourself out of this run of form. I don't want the manager coming out and saying, I hope I'm not a burden to this club. I want him saying to me as a fan, I'm going to be back on that training pitch. I'm going to make sure that I get some results in the next game. It's this defeatist stuff that really does bother me. So I don't doubt that he cares. And I see what you're saying, Tom, but I want something that's inspiring me. And Alex spoke about confidence earlier. Do comments like that, where I hope I'm not a burden to the club, inspire Bradley Dack, inspire Adam Armstrong, inspire Thomas Kaminski. The players that we've spoken about didn't necessarily raise it and lift the team tonight. That's the thing that's bothering me with Mowbray now, and that's the thing that for me has been very different in these last few weeks. So Ollie, we're going to look to wrap up the stream. So Howard's had his final say, you know, just your final say on, you know, what the hell do Rovers do at this point? You know, I've put the warning flares out there, the warning signals that we can potentially sleepwalk into something if we aren't careful. So what do we do? What is the right thing to do?
I don't know. I think I'm with you as well, that he's gone from, we've had comments that are deflecting from in the previous games, and now he's a bit sort of defensive and defeatist, which isn't particularly inspiring. And I'm not quite sure where we go. I think, you know, none of us have, I can't speak for everyone in the comments, but we're not football managers. But he's sort of saying, I'm doing the best I can with the selection and players I've got. But I'm not sure how many people put your hands up if you'd have played Bradley Dack on the left wing today and subbed off Joe Rothwell. Not for me. But yeah, I'd rather see a bit of fight than, you know, than those types of comments personally. Where do we go from here? I think if anyone in the comments that hasn't watched the Mowbray show that some of you guys did, I thought it was really good. And I think the club's in a difficult position because I think the points made on that show, I completely agreed with. I'm not sure there's much incentive or motivation to sack him right now. I'm not. If it happens, it happens. Fair enough. And I'm not sure many of us will complain that it has happened. I'm not. But the reality of it actually happening and the club doing it, I'm not quite sure. I agree that the financially and the motivation to do it, I'm not quite sure. But if we lose to Coventry and we enter a difficult run of games, it may have to happen. But then, and if we go into Coventry again and it's a weird team selection and we huff and puff, but it's a bit disjointed again and we give away some more silly goals and a point or a loss, I don't know. We can't just sit here and just keep doing the same thing over and over. But I don't know, you know, I think his position, I think it's his time's come to an end, but I'm not sure who the replacement is. And again on that stream, I'm not sure we haven't got the finances to pay compensation to get a manager out of a club to come in. So I think the if not Mowbray question is a really hard one to answer. And if he walks, he walks, which is also a possibility. But I mean, what needs to happen right now is he needs to work with the team for the next, you know, tomorrow, recovery, Friday, tactics and looking to Coventry, and they just have to win that football match. There's not much more to it than that. The starting 11 to me is really obvious. The defence is probably going to pick itself because of injuries and probably the midfield, but Brereton, Armstrong, Elliott, it has to be. And we keep saying it every week and he still won't pick it currently. I'm not sure why. And he just has to go and win that football match. And if winning that football match means Bradley Dack starts on the bench, then he's got to stand up and make hard choices and do that. Travis is probably going to have to play because of injuries. That's fine. Probably Evans will as well. But he just has to over the next 2 days, regroup, patch the squad together and win on Saturday, because I said it before, we've had a difficult, you guys have been doing the watch-alongs, and we've had a pretty bad run on 5 watch-alongs with 5 losses in a row. But something what I think there'll be a massive mood change. Even like the mood is very, very low at the moment, and people are right in the comments. We've said it for the last 2 games. If we were in stadiums, it would be really toxic right now. If fans are in that stadium tonight and that 3rd goal went in, like you, Ryan, I've been watching this football team for a really long time, and I've been in some horrible home and away atmospheres, and it would not have been very nice tonight. And I don't want that for Mowbray, because I'd rather, it's not a nice way to end his tenure at the club. But it's, imagine if fans were there and we lose. If we're 2-0 down at half time home to Coventry, that's to be in, you're getting into some quite difficult territory, I think, if we were in the stadiums, which shouldn't, given what's happened over the last 4 seasons with him, would be a very odd position for us to have got ourselves into. And in some respects, it's quite hard to understand, really. But we are where we are, and we just got to win on Saturday, I think, and take it from there, because he is going to be our manager, I think, on Saturday. So.
I'm just laughing at the comments before I come to Alex. So Byram, yes, there is such a thing as a watch-along curse. Luke and I are just trying to figure out who is the bad luck charm, and we're being so stubborn that we're both going to keep doing them until we win. So when you're watching us in the National League North in about 5 seasons' time, you can blame me and Luke, because we're going nowhere until we win. And sack me. Sack Ryan Hildred. 5 defeats on the spin. Absolutely. Alex, I'm just going to give you the final word, though. So there is a seriousness to this. And, Howard mentioned it as well, and Ollie has. Unless there is a name lined up, or we've got an actual plan to what happens after Mowbray, with those next fixtures that we've spoken about, with the importance of the Coventry game, and, with the fact that we don't want to sleepwalk into something, actually sacking him before the Coventry game could actually be a pretty stupid thing to do, couldn't it? So we've just got to get behind the team on Saturday and just pray to God that we get the job done, because it's a huge game on Saturday, isn't it? Let's not be hasty and do things before the Coventry game, because we need Mowbray to get that result, don't we?
I don't want anyone to watch this stream and be under any illusions that I don't want Blackburn Rovers to win on Saturday so that Mowbray gets sacked. That is just such a reductionist view of things, and is just counter to everything that we stand for as Rovers fans. So I really don't want anyone to get that impression from anything that we say. We're desperate for Rovers to win every single game, regardless of our thoughts on the manager. I think I said that already, but I just think it needs reinforcing. And the same goes for the game on Saturday. What I would say on the manager, I don't think I can say much more than I said on Monday. But what I would say is that I don't think he will be sacked. I don't think the club can afford to pay him off. I think the only way he leaves is if he walks. I think the language that you've seen in that post-match interview there certainly makes me think that it's buzzing around in his head, the thought of walking, because he has mentioned it in the past, that if he's ever a burden on the club, that he will resign. So from that language after tonight's game, there's certainly the impression I've got from that interview that the thought of walking away is in his mind now. I think the only logical, in my opinion, you've got 2 logical decisions to make with this manager. You either get rid now and allow the new man the remainder of the season and then the whole summer to recruit with the number of contracts that are not signed, or you give Mowbray until the end of his contract, so you give him next season as well. I think they're the only 2 logical ways forward at the minute. And what I would say is that if you're looking for maybe a compromise, that we maybe decide now that we're going to let him leave after the Norwich game, looking at the difficulty of those fixtures coming up, that we privately agree that he will leave after the Norwich game, and in the meantime put plans and preparations in place to appoint a new man for after that game. I know it's not a respectful way of operating. I know that it wouldn't be something that every fan would get behind, but nonetheless, I think football, unfortunately, is a cutthroat industry, and that is how it works. You know, we only have to look at the way Mowbray arrived at this club. He was appointed less than 24 hours after 𝐂𝐻𝐃𝐂𝐓 was sacked. So let's not be under any illusions that Mowbray was contacted before 𝐂𝐻𝐃𝐂𝐓 was sacked. You know, so I think that's what I would say on it. That really, he either leaves before the end of this season, or you give him until the end of his contract. And as I said on Monday night, in terms of replacement managers, that I don't think it's my place to be banding around names. I certainly wouldn't want to go for somebody that was purely a pick based on emotion. I think the club has gone down the road in the past and has really suffered for it. I think we need to try and go down a road based on results, because I think if we've learned anything from this season, I think if we take anything away from, you know, at the end of this season, when the book is closed and the final chapter is written, the 46th chapter, that I think the one conclusion we will draw from this season at the end of all of it is that results are more important than performances. That we've talked a lot about how well we played earlier on in the season, but we sit here right now, unfortunately, on the verge of, in my opinion, a very toxic atmosphere, and that makes me really sad. I really want Mowbray to leave with his head held high. I really want us to look back on Mowbray's time here as in a positive light, that he turned the club around from the position that it was in. But I think the only way that we can do that is by him leaving before the end of this season. And that's my honest opinion on it.
I am most certainly subscribed to the view and would agree with giving a manager just that little honeymoon period that the likes of Graham Souness had previously managing Rovers at some point in this season. Get him in to do the final 10, final 8 or whatever games, just to see what the state of the squad is, see which players are going to sign new contracts, etc., etc. So you get that head start in pre-season so you can start identifying your contacts. So I'm subscribed to that view. The timing of it is absolutely critical, though. We can't do anything now. We cannot be going into Saturday's game with a caretaker manager in a game that we've just identified as one of the most important games to make sure we don't sleepwalk. So Mowbray's our manager on Saturday. Make no bones about it. It would be suicide if he's not. So if he then loses that game, that's when I think the board have got a real decision to make. Are you giving someone a honeymoon period just to feel what the club's about, see us over the line, and then start to look at next season? So that's why I've always said, I said it last week, I said if we lose 6 on the bounce and lose to Coventry, that's when I think a decision might be made. Like, I think we did come to a universal view on the live stream that he'll stay to the end of the season, but I just think that the momentum will grow, the calls will grow, and how can you persist when you're looking at those fixtures? So
I still don't think he'll be sacked. I think the only way he leaves is if he walks. I really do.
You think he'd walk after Coventry?
I think if we lose to Coventry on Saturday, he'll walk. I think he will.
Yeah. And I am so subscribed to that honeymoon period, because we aren't the biggest spenders in the league. We are going to lose our top goal scorer. We've got a hell of a lot of work to do in the summer. So I think that little head start that you give a manager, if you don't think that this is the manager to take you up, that's what I really want to happen, you know, and Tony will leave with me shaking his hand saying, thank you for the job that you've done, but no, thank you. But I am fearing that we're going to get this horribly wrong. And in the summer, we are going to end up replacing Armstrong, 6 or 7 players who have gone on contracts, a new manager, and then the new season starting before we know it. And I've just got this little fear and this little niggle. So timing is really important for Rovers at the moment. But hey, let's get behind the club on Saturday. This is a huge game on Saturday against Coventry City. I never thought I'd say that, but it is. Let's not sleepwalk into a situation. Let's make absolutely sure that we're not going to get involved in a relegation battle. Let's get behind this team. Let's get behind the manager. Let's see what happens. That's what I want to happen on Saturday now. So we're not having these conversations. So sorry again that, 5 times on the bounce that this has not been the most positive live stream, but we're just bringing realism into the situation because I'm eyeballing those fixtures and I'm like, just need to be careful. So let's get the job done on Saturday and hopefully we can start to move forward a bit. But thank you all for joining us tonight on the watch along and the pre-stream and on tonight's post-match live stream. It's a really tough watch for Rovers at the moment, but we will just keep dissecting it. We'll keep looking at the facts and the evidence and what's behind Rovers at the moment. Hopefully we get a win and hopefully it's on Saturday because I don't want Dan to sack me either, because if we lose, it won't just be Tony Mowbray going, it's probably going to be me as well. So Tony, you hear it here first. I want to stay with Rovers Chat. I want to stay doing these watch alongs and live streams. So I don't want to have to walk either. So we've got to do it for me as well. But Alex, Howard, Ollie, thanks for joining us tonight. Rovers fans, thank you for all your interactions this evening as well. And thank you for those of you that have done the super chats and done the financial contributions tonight. We really, really, really are appreciative of everything that you do to support the channel. Just a few reminders. Back on Friday night with On the Other Side, previewing the Coventry game. We'll be back on Saturday with the pre-match and watch-along and the post-match live stream as well. And then all of the other content that we do as well, such as the 1875 podcasts, Andy's Stats Show, the stuff that Joe does on Rovers Analytics. You'll see all of that. And the only way you get to know about that is if you hit that bell notification button on YouTube so that you stay up to date with everything. So hit subscribe, hit the bell, hit the like, and you will know exactly when we're going live with absolutely everything. So thank you all. Simon, if Ryan goes, everyone goes. Yes. Love it. Love it, Simon. There we go. There we go.
We all go down together. We all go down together.
We do. We win, lose, and draw together. There we go, Nadeem. I've got support. I've got more support than Mowbray. I'm loving it. But no, genuinely, we do win, lose, and draw together. And we'll keep bringing you the content at Rovers Chat. So we'll get the win on Saturday. Come on, let's think positive. But thank you all for joining us. Thank you all for giving up your time this evening. And we will leave you with the 6yardsout.com advert. Thank you all. The Rovers Chat YouTube channel is proudly sponsored by 6yardsout.com. They've got retro football from every era with mugs, phone cases and much more. They also have plenty of Rovers goods including apparel with the famous 94-95 season and this season's kit. Check them out using the link in the description below.